Pull a dollar bill out of your pocket. Go ahead, look at it. Now, here's a question nobody ever asks. What is that actually? Not what it buys, not what it says on it. What is it? Because here's the thing. They don't tell you in school, they don't tell you at the bank, and they sure as hell don't tell you on the news. That piece of paper is not money, it's a promise. And somewhere along the way, without a single vote, without a single announcement, someone decided that promise was worth a whole lot less than you think. And the wild part? The system doing it? You're funding it every single day. Here's the part where most people change the channel. Because this does not feel urgent, your paycheck still clears, Netflix still works, the lights are still on. So why should you care about how money works? Let me give you one number that should make every working American stop dead in their tracks. Since 1971, the US dollar has lost over 85% of its purchasing power. That means the dollar your grandfather earned in 1971 would need to be worth about 7 of your dollars today just to buy the same stuff. 7 to 1. And nobody sent you a memo. Nobody called a town hall. It just happened. Quietly, consistently, year after year. Like a slow leak in a tire you don't notice until you're already on the side of the road. And here is the kicker that will mess with your head for the rest of this video. This was not an accident. There is a mechanism behind it, a system. And once you see how it actually works, you cannot unsee it, so let's go there. Okay, so let's talk about where money actually comes from. And I do not mean printing presses. That is the kindergarten version. Here is what is really going on. Say you walk into a bank and you take out a $300,000 mortgage. Most people assume the bank is handing you money that some other guy deposited last Tuesday. Like the bank is just a middleman, a piggy bank with a suit on. That is not what happens, not even close. What the bank actually does is type a number into a screen, $300,000, your account, done. That money did not exist 5 minutes ago. The bank did not pull it from a vault, it did not borrow it from the Federal Reserve, it created it, digitally, instantaneously, out of nothing. And here is where it gets genuinely wild. That $300,000 is now simultaneously your debt and the bank's asset. They basically wrote themselves an IOU using your signature as the collateral. You go home thinking you got a loan. The bank goes home having just manufactured an asset worth $300,000 plus 30 years of interest. This is called fractional reserve banking, and it is not some conspiracy theory you find on a Reddit thread at 2 in the morning. It is standard practice. It is taught in economics textbooks. It is how the entire Western financial system runs. Now you are probably sitting there asking the exact right question. If banks can just create money like that, what is stopping them from going completely off the rails? And the answer to that question is the Federal Reserve, which sounds reassuring, until you find out who the Federal Reserve actually answers to. And that is where this story gets really interesting. So here is the Federal Reserve, the most powerful financial institution in the United States, the entity that controls interest rates, manages the money supply, and essentially decides the financial weather for 330 million Americans. And here is the first thing you need to know about it. It is not a government agency. It never was. The Federal Reserve is a private institution, with private member banks, answering to a board that nobody voted for. Let that sit for a second. The outfit controlling your cost of borrowing, your mortgage rate, your savings rate, and the value of every dollar in your wallet was never elected by you, never approved by you, and is not directly accountable to you. But okay, let us talk about what they actually do, because this is where the math gets uncomfortable. When the US government needs money it does not have, which is basically always, it issues treasury bonds, essentially IOUs. The Federal Reserve buys those bonds by doing the exact same thing your bank did with your mortgage. It types numbers into a screen. New dollars, created from nothing, injected directly into the financial system. Between 2020 and 22 alone, the Fed pumped roughly $5 trillion new dollars into the US economy. $5 trillion. In 2 years. And here's what that actually means for you. Every new dollar created quietly makes every dollar you already own worth just a little bit less. It is not theft exactly. There is no masked guy breaking into your account, but your savings are shrinking in slow motion every single day, and the system doing it is working exactly as designed. Now here is the part they really do not want you to figure out. Every time the Federal Reserve creates new money and pumps it into the economy, that money does not land evenly. It does not show up in your checking account. It does not bump up your hourly wage overnight. It flows first to the banks, then to the big institutional investors, then to the asset markets. Stocks go up, real estate goes up. The people who already own things get richer almost automatically. And by the time that freshly printed money trickles down to your paycheck, its purchasing power has already been quietly eaten away. There is actually a name for this. Economists call it the Cantillon effect, named after an 18th century French-Irish economist named Richard Cantillon, who figured this out 300 years ago. 300 years ago. And we are still running the same playbook. Here is the gut punch version of it. The guy closest to the money printer wins. The guy furthest from it loses. And in America right now, most working people are very far from that printer. So when you see headlines screaming that the economy is booming, that the stock market hit a record high, the GDP is up, ask yourself one simple question: booming for whom exactly? Because the numbers look great on paper. They just do not always show up in your grocery bill. So here is where we zoom out. And this is the part that should genuinely make you think. Because something interesting is happening right now across America. People are losing faith, not loudly, not all at once, but quietly and consistently. Gold is at record highs. Bitcoin went from a nerdy internet experiment to a trillion-dollar asset class that central banks are now scrambling to regulate. Countries like China, Russia, and Brazil are actively making moves to trade without using the US dollar at all. These are not coincidences. These are symptoms. Symptoms of a growing global suspicion that the current money system is running on borrowed time. Literally. The US national debt just crossed $34 trillion. To put that in perspective, if you spent $1 million every single day since the birth of Jesus Christ, you still would not have spent $1 trillion yet. And America owes 34 of them. That debt is never getting paid off. And deep down, the people running the system know that. The question is not whether this is sustainable. The math already answered that. The question is what happens when enough regular people figure it out. So here is where we land. The money system is not broken. That is the thing. It is doing exactly what it was built to do. It is creating debt. It is concentrating wealth. It is quietly taxing the people who save and rewarding the people who already own. It is running perfectly. The only question nobody in a suit on television ever seems to want to answer is the simplest one of all. Built to do all of this. For whom exactly? You have been using money your entire life. Today was maybe the first day you actually looked at it. What you do with that is entirely up to you.